Overnight, new measures have come into force requiring sites with adult content to legally demand age checks like face scans and taking credit card details.
But campaigners, however, say the measures aren't enough to stop children seeing harmful material. They insist ministers have put the interests of tech firms first. Science and Technology Secretary Peter Carl joins us now. Good morning to you. So, a positive step forward, but is it going to be enough then? We've got accusations there from campaigners that this won't be enough to protect our children. When can you guarantee that children won't be able to see harmful, dangerous, pornographic material?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I know this is an issue that is of deep concern to your viewers. So let me just say that from today, it is the legal requirement of platforms to check the age of the people who are using their service and make sure that content is age appropriate for the people who are using their services. So children should not see inappropriate material from today. The sanctions that we can put against those companies, should they actually not verify the age and not make sure it is a rigorous system, are the most strident of any countries like Britain around the world. It would be 10% of global earnings as a fine. It can be the ability to take down services. It can even be, in the most extreme circumstances, having a named individual responsible for these services within each tech company and giving them a prison sentence because they will be criminally liable for the first time. So for people who say that we're not taking this seriously, just look at the offences that we've created, look at the onus we put on tech companies, and look at the fines and the sanctions that we can wage. We are serious. Today is going to be the biggest step forward in the experience children and parents experience online in the history of the internet.
It all comes down to the enforcement, doesn't it? And those who've, personally suffered because of the material that's been online. For example, the family of Molly Russell, the Molly Rose Foundation have called it a lack of ambition and accountability. They're not happy with what they've seen from this. And it does all rest with the enforcement and the accusations that that just won't be there, that Ofcom haven't got the teeth to be able to follow up with this and make sure that companies aren't flouting the regulations.
You are completely right. This now rests on our ability to enforce, to make sure that the law is upheld. I've just gone through what the sanctions are. I've gone through what the requirements are, and I think everybody would agree that these are tough. Now, I say to campaigners, today is the first day. Please don't judge us and issue your statements before these laws have even gone live. So there is a huge onus. We have big powers. I have had many conversations with Ofcom. I know that Melanie Dawes, their chief executive, and her whole team deeply care about the safety of children online. They want to make a difference, and I have urged them and made clear my expectation that all of these powers are used to the maximum to make children safe, to make children feel safe, to allow children to have an experience on the internet which gives an opportunity to explore all the benefits of the internet in the modern age, but they can only do so if they are safe and feel safe. But let me just be clear about one thing. Children don't go looking for this content. It goes looking for them until now. That should not happen going forward. Okay. It's a big moment. Let's bank it and move forward and make sure we're adapting as we carry on.
Yeah, Peter, we've got a lot to get through, so just want to move on. Just very quickly on the doctor strikes. The residents' doctor strikes, they haven't listened to Wes Streeting. We believe up to 50,000 could be on the picket lines today. This isn't a good sign for a relatively new Labour government. Are we heading to a summer of discontent? Will other public sector workers possibly follow suit in the future?
Well, it's not just Wes Streeting that they're not listening to. It's patients they're not listening to. It's the public they're not listening to. It's all the people who want the NHS to carry on making the progress that we've made since coming into office, making sure waiting lists have fallen by 4 million. Huge progress being made, but so much more that needs to be done so that everybody feels the benefit. We have already negotiated with the resident doctors a 28.9% pay rise. 28.9%. That is the most in any part of the public sector. Now, that is something that they should celebrate, they should bank, and they should be part of this project of rebuilding the NHS and all of our public services. We are the Labour Party. We follow the need and not the noise. And there is a lot of need right through our public services. We need to make sure that we can move forward together in a decade of national renewal. They have got a really good deal out of this. Let's put patients first, and move forward in patients' interests.
OK. Let's move on to Gaza. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, some saying the strongest words we've heard from him in recent months, calling it a catastrophe and completely devastating what is going on in Gaza at the moment. Many people will say that he should have said this perhaps a long time ago. We spoke to Professor Nick Maynard, and he's a surgeon at Oxford University Hospital. He spent the last 15 years out in Gaza. And I think we'd all agree that it's the doctors on the field that really know what's going on. I just want to play a little clip of what he wants you and your government to start doing. Just have a listen to Professor Nick Maynard.
Aid needs to be allowed in, food needs to be allowed in, our governments need to do more than just give out strong words, which is all they're doing at the moment. They need to take actions. They need to stop supplying arms to Israel. They need to officially recognise the war crimes and the genocide that are being carried out. They need to recognise what the ICJ and the ICC have done in terms of what they have charged Israel with and Netanyahu with. They need to take actions, and they're failing to do so.
Professor Nick Maynard volunteers. You know, he volunteers to go out and he sees this for himself. He gave us reports of horrific reports of IDF soldiers, what he believes are playing a game, using young Palestinian boys as target practice. And he echoes what a lot of people are thinking across the country, that actually there's a lot of words coming from the UK government, but not a lot of action. What action can you recommend and can you promise that we will start seeing from the UK government?
Well, firstly, let me just reflect that Keir Starmer has consistently used the strongest possible language to describe the horrors that we are seeing in Gaza. He is offended by what is happening. I am offended by what is happening in Gaza.
But words aren't making a difference. Sorry to interrupt, but words aren't making a difference, are they? That's the thing.
Let me come straight to that point.
People are calling for action.
Let me come straight to that point because it is important. First of all, let me pay tribute to Nick and the work he is doing as a doctor in the field. I pay tribute to it. He is wrong to say that we do not recognise the International Criminal Court and the work that it does. We have fully recognised the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court in Gaza and in Israel. And its ability to issue arrest warrants and to undertake investigations. Okay. We have issued sanctions against people in the West Bank who are committing crimes. We have issued sanctions against people within the Netanyahu government. We have made sure that we've done everything we can also to bring those Hamas leaders who have also committed war crimes
Let me put another alternative things you could do. The Arms Minister, Armed Forces Minister Luke Pollard admitted that we are currently training a limited number of IDF personnel soldiers in the UK. Should we continue to train IDF soldiers when we've had the professor on this morning telling us that those IDF soldiers, some of them, are using Palestinian boys as target practice? Should we still be training IDF soldiers?
OK, so we are applying UK law to all of the support that we are offering, and we are reviewing it constantly. I was giving a long list of things that we are doing, which are actually meaningful actions, not words, and I didn't get the chance to finish all of that, but I accept that there's a lot more to be done here. We've applied international law and domestic law when it comes to arms sales. We've already withheld certain products from being sold to Israel for armament use. We are making sure that we are applying domestic law equally across all of our arms sales, and if we feel that Israel is stepping outside of that law, we will act. I don't just take my words for that, because we have acted and we've already withheld some products from Israel.
We are still supplying some components for the F-35s. It only takes one F-35 to be part of a war crime. So we are putting ourselves, the UK, in a very vulnerable position. On one hand, we're saying we are concerned about their potential war crimes, but we continue to supply some components that could be used in an F-35 that could cause a war crime.
As I said, we are assessing in a very delicate, difficult situation all of the legal requirements that we have to ensure that any arms sales we put to any country in the world, including Israel, is within the law. Today, the Prime Minister is convening a meeting with President Macron and Chancellor Merz to make sure that we can do everything we can using our international leverage so that we can get aid and support into Gaza. That's one of the things that your surgeon, Nick, was calling for a bit earlier as well too. We have to get aid into Gaza now. We have to move to a ceasefire now because this war has to end. And then we have to move to a point where we can recognise the Palestinian state as part of a political solution that will deliver the long-term peace and stability for the region that they need, that the world needs, that everyone is crying out for, but most importantly, the people who live in the region who are currently suffering so deeply at the moment.
OK, Peter Curl, Science and Technology Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning.